Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Clues, Cues and Reviews, and today we're going to be looking at My Hero Academia / Boku no Hero Academia chapter 103. Now, before getting into the nitty gritty of the chapter, I just want to give you an update on what's been going on. I wasn't able to do the chapter yesterday, and I'm doing this pretty late because of a busy day today. Hopefully I can get Boku no Hero Academia out, Black Clover out today or late in the morning, and then hopefully World Trigger probably Sunday. I'm hoping to get these done early as possible, as I'm hopefully going to watch the UFC tonight, which should be a good show because there's some interesting fights plus the main event. So an interesting chapter. Not a lot completely happens, but it really kicks off towards the back end of this chapter, so I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet. So without further ado, let's get into the review. So, point number one is to do with Miss Joke, the roaring laughter quirk that she has. It's interesting that we get this information from Izuku, who's like the encyclopedia of quirks. It's interesting because he knows about this quirk, and I'll mention later on about quirks he's not aware of, but he's able to break down her techniques, and she's basically there. She's a teacher of a different school, and she's basically trying to get Aizawa sensei to laugh. And the reason why that is she's got part of her ability is to immobilize her enemies, and the way she does that is by making them laugh. By making them laugh, she's able to impair the motor skills and the cognitive skills of the enemy. So effectively they can't really think anything, they can't really move anywhere. So it's an interesting quirk to have, very dangerous, and the fact that she's trying to use it on Aizawa sensei basically means that she wants him to be taken out of the equation before the exam starts, so he can't really help his students. What she doesn't remember, doesn't understand, is that Aizawa sensei has done all he can, and pretty much now it's down to the students, and effectively there's no point, she's wasting her time. And plus Aizawa sensei isn't really one to just start crack out laughing. He's quite a stern individual, so a quite good counterbalance there, but an interesting point to consider. So, point number two, right off the bat, we get to see some new students other than the ones we were introduced to last chapter. The Ketsubutsu Academy second year class B or class 2, and we get to see some of their characters. One of the characters is Shindo, and Miss Laugh's class, basically. Miss Joke, sorry. So, Shindo, I found him interesting because he was doing a lot of kiss assery, a lot of lip service in this chapter, and he was shaking each people's hands from UA with both of his hands. Now, I found that interesting and naive from the UA Academy because we don't know what his quirk is. And, Izuku's like, yeah, then everyone else is kind of like shaking his hand and kind of caught off by it. But the one person that sees through that is our Bakugan. Bearing in mind, Bakugan has been told, and he's been kind of piped up and hyped to have this battle prowess. I guess his normal sense is pretty good as well, because he was able to kind of differentiate with the words that he was saying and the face that he was making, basically stating that he knew that he was basically chatting shit, basically doing this for a reason. I believe the reason why he wants to shake hands and use both of his hands is probably to do with his quirk, and it may be something to do with locating his enemies or his rivals. I guess the idea is once he's got a full grasp of you with both hands, it's kind of like a tracker maybe. That's just what my thoughts are on this quirk. I don't know if it's going to be the case, but I just found it interesting that Bakugan saw through it and nobody else did. But that's point number two. So, point number three, the exam itself. Apparently there's 1,540 entrants into this exam for this specific venue, and they want to whittle that down to 100, which is basically over 5% pass rate. The exact figure is probably like 6.5 or 6.49%, but close enough at 5%. Each individual gets 6 balls, and each individual will have 3 targets that need to be visible in an open area. So what this basically means is there's over 4,000, I would say about 4,600, there's 4,600-ish targets you can hit, and there's 9,240 balls in play. So there's a good 50% chance you can hit your target. However, the third target that basically gets hit is whoever hits that is the takedown, and effectively that person gets the point, and whoever gets 2 points effectively wins. So there's a good chance that people will get eliminated out of this, but if it's the third shot effectively what that means is it's 1 in 3 out of 50, I guess. So, there's not a big chance. It's still going to be, the numbers don't quite add up really on how they're going to get to the end, but it's really a big clearance. Now, one thing that this test also kind of made me think about was the second exam in Hunter x Hunter. So not the exam that the main characters went through the first time, but the second time around when Killua went for the test and he had to get the tags. It's a similar kind of thing where he basically collects everybody's tags. So there's a big thing that's going on here, which is lead on to point number 4, but crazy numbers of participants. I can only imagine we have equal amounts in other areas, but an interesting exam to start off round 1. I can imagine the real main fights are going to happen in round 2 when there's only 100 left, but an exciting thing to look forward to, I guess. So that's point number 4. So point number 4, the expansion of the hall, and we get a large scale arena for these 1540 people to fight in. Now, what becomes evident throughout this chapter is one thing that Aizawa doesn't mention, which I'll talk about in point 5, but it's become a custom in these tests to hunt down UA members. So I can imagine in each different venue, I believe there's 3 of them, that they're going to be doing the same with all of them. So if you can bear in mind, there's only 20 members of the UA team that in this exam, everybody else, that's 1520 people at least, that are going to be hunting them down. Now, what puts them at even worse disadvantage than they're already currently in is the fact that they had their summer sports festival or the sports festival, and basically all their quirks at that moment in time were showcased. So everybody across the country that wants to be a hero or in the hero kind of profession or studying to be a hero knows their quirks, knows their weaknesses, so that puts them in a severe disadvantage, which sets up point number 5. So point number 5, the disadvantage and why Aizawa Sensei didn't say anything. Like mentioned in this chapter, it's a custom to hunt down the UA because they're the big team, everybody knows their weaknesses, and it's more favourable to take down someone famous and you can build your reputation on the back of it. Here's why Aizawa Sensei didn't tell him. He mentions this anyway. And this is one thing I like really about the way the mangaka, the author of this story, really portrays the world of heroism. The explanation is quite straightforward really if you think about it. Okay, being a hero with superpowers in the real world, it's a bit fantasy, it's a bit out there. But when you think about it, in this world, in this story, they have that degree of realism. They've been quite, blunt with that, and they don't hold or pull any punches. And it's quite straightforward in the idea that in the real world, if you're a hero, there's never going to be a situation you're fully prepared for. So being in situations where you have unfavorable odds, where you don't know the weakness or strengths of your enemies, is going to be a situation you're going to deal with on a regular basis, and being able to overcome that is effectively what makes you a hero, or a very good hero at that. Now here's the thing, people are relying on the stats and the research and what they know about the sports festival. Although it's been a short period of time since then, we've had the pain situation, we've had the summer camp, we've had this recent kind of boot camp as well. People's abilities have grown. So those weaknesses that were made evident in the sports festival, even the people with the quirks are aware of them, and they've been making leaps and strides to improve themselves. So those weaknesses are now not as vocal, now not as obvious, and now not really weaknesses. And I really like the fact that we've had that. So we get to see a barrier that they've created themselves and now a way to overcome them. What's also important to bear in mind is one of the reasons why this happens is because UA is so famous. Also, points to consider with this is things that they could do next time. With the Olympics here, I think what would be cool is, regardless of who gets the provisional licenses, what they should do is, for those that do pass, is have some type of Olympics where they gather all the main kind of players, I guess, or school students from different schools, get together and have a big festival rather than just focus on UA and that second high kind of elite school. I think that would be a good thing to see, hopefully in the near future. But there's no relenting in this manga, is there? Straight on to something interesting. Let's see how this goes. Is it going to go like Hunter x Hunter? We don't know, but brilliant kind of end to the chapter. Everyone's gearing to go for UA. Everyone's ready. Bakugao and Shuto have kind of gone on their own ways because they don't want to group up with the rest of them. Let's see how it all plays out. I can't wait to see what happens. Let's see whose quirk ends up on top. But that's all for me today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed the review. Give me a thumbs up if you like the chapter and you enjoyed any points that I've mentioned. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. I greatly appreciate that, and I'll see you next time.